TWC2 was set up in 2003 in response to a horrific beating and murder of a domestic worker. A small number of academics got together and thought something should be done about this sort of thing, because the treatment of domestic workers is something that occasionally comes into the news when there's terrible mistreatment that domestic workers suffer from. We set up When we first set up, we started with domestic workers. Later, when we set up the Cuff Road Project, we tended to have more clients who were male migrant workers. With both the female and the male migrant workers, we do help the individuals with whatever case they have, but our main issue is to try to change the situation or the conditions or the legislation and regulations that create these kinds of problems. So we don't see this as merely a matter of one bad employer or a few bad employers, but we see this as a systemic problem where the employers are allowed to do certain things that affect a majority of the migrant workers in Singapore. So that's what we hope to change. The Cuff Road Project, TCRP, we set this up in 2008. That was during the economic downturn, when we realized that there were perhaps thousands of workers who were sleeping on the streets. Due to the economic downturn, a lot of companies were no longer able to provide work or provide housing or to maintain their workers, so they just abandoned them. There were a lot of people on the streets at that time, and we thought, in order to better understand that problem, we need to get to know the workers better. And often people think it's just a matter of asking a few questions, but it was really through this extensive contact with workers, a large number of workers, and seeing some workers over an extended period of time, that we were able to figure out what was happening with the male workers. There are, of course, every problem has its own, peculiarities, but it allows us to see what's happening on a wide range basis. The project was simply to find restaurants that would offer food to them. We pay the restaurants for the food. The men are permitted to, join our program. Those that are not permitted to work due to some sort of claim, either non-payment of salary, an injury compensation claim, or some sort of investigation into something that's happened to them. So for those people, their work permit is canceled. They're given a pass that prevents them from working. Therefore, they have no means of income. Those are the people that we put on our meal program. So we've been doing this since 2008. Before the pandemic, we would have an average of 300 people every evening coming for meals, maybe about 150 people coming for breakfast, 300 in the evening. And so we would get to see a large number of people and understand all their different situations. I see that our role is to try to change a situation that is exploitative of migrant workers. I think if you ask the government, they would see the role of civil society as one of doing the work of government, of doing the kind of work that government can't reach. And we do that too, so there are some people who have particular problems due to, individual circumstances. But we see our role as trying to, as I said before, change legislation, change regulations, change attitudes, change a situation that puts the majority of workers into a disadvantaged position.